Stranger Things Tales from 85 has officially dropped on Netflix, but it's not the homecoming fans expected. This 10-episode animated spinoff set in the winter of 1985 between season 2 and 3 is currently getting review bombed by fans and sparking massive controversy. Why? Because the show has made the bold and frankly dumb decision to completely swap out the original cast for new voice actors. And it's also completely written out the Byers family minus Will. Fans are feeling robbed of the family dynamic that grounded the early seasons. Here's my impression after seeing the show. Honestly, I'm feeling pretty mixed on this one. On the one hand, I love the idea of exploring the lost winter of 1985, but seeing the party without Joyce or Jonathan feels like a piece of the puzzle is missing. It feels like Netflix is trying to lean into that new Ghostbusters vibe while stripping away the emotional weight that made us love these characters in the first place. Now, don't get me wrong, at times the show can be fun, but there's this nagging sense that because it's all set in the past, nothing really matters. While the retro visuals are cool, the fact that we already know everyone survives immediately drains the series of any tension, and it ends up feeling more like a side quest than a lost chapter. The biggest risk here is almost this feeling of a cynical retread factor. Many fans are already calling it a pointless exercise in nostalgia by replacing the iconic voices of Millie Bobby Brown and gang. The show risks feeling like a high-budget fan fiction rather than a true entry into the Stranger Things canon. If the new voices don't land for you, then the whole series kind of falls apart. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I think it would have been just much better if the spin-off had featured just completely new characters and a completely new story. Reskinning the characters that we spent years with, but without the voices of Millie Bobby Brown or Joe Keery, just makes it feel like the Uncanny Valley version of Stranger Things. It just doesn't work as well as it could if this was like a new cast. Now, I will say Nikki Baxter, the Tinkerer, the new lead character they introduced in this show, she is by far the standout. She is this kind of high energy transfer student who uses gadgetry to fight monsters. For me, she was by far the best simply because she brings much needed stakes, because unlike the original core party, we don't know what happens to her. And so there, as a result, whenever she's in the scene or whenever she's in danger, we're like, oh, well, what's going on with this character? How is she going to get out of this? But everybody else, we already know the gang survived. So we're not in danger when we see Eleven or Dustin or Mike, fight off these kind of plant creatures or this and that. Who cares? We know that they survive in the end. But Nikki Baxter, to me is what the entire show should have been. We should have just, had that character and, maybe, who knows, build her around a separate group of kids unrelated to all of the original cast. I actually think you would have had something decent there. But instead we get, them recasting all of these iconic characters. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not bad, right? I think her name is Brooklyn Davy is 11 in some of the other voice actors, they do a decent enough job getting close to the original actor sometimes. But that's the problem. They get close, but they don't get close enough to make us forget that we're not hearing the original actors, right? It kind of sounds like Millie Bobby Brown, but it's a little off. Yeah, that kind of sounds like and that's just not going to cut it. Now, I've heard some people say that, oh, well, maybe they should have got some AI to kind of, clone the voices. I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, to be honest. It's like, I just think they should have just went with another cast or another new story, new characters. That's my personal take on it. They probably could have avoided that and a lot of this backlash they're now getting from a lot of fans. And I will say that I thought the visual effects were kind of impressive, even though it kind of looks like, admittedly, an old Telltale game, looking like the Wolf Among Us or Walking Dead. I still thought, I haven't seen this style used a lot, at least not in TV shows. So I thought, oh, okay, well, this sort of works, this kind of retro, kind of colorful vibe they're going for, the whole kind of Saturday morning cartoon feel. But I would argue that that's part of the problem because this is this, Saturday morning cartoon. It almost feels disconnected from the previous seasons. We're expected to believe that this takes place between season 2 and season 3, but tonally it doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit with those shows. You have our main characters like Mike or Lucas or whoever. They're battling these monsters and they're getting thrown around and like rag dolls, and yet they miraculously get up and survive it in a way that they would not have ever survived in, let's say, in the real live action show. But because this has this kind of Saturday morning cartoon vibe, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't fit as if we're supposed to believe tonally this is something that was supposed to happen between season 2 and season 3. I didn't buy it, but that's what they're trying to sell. Yeah. But yeah, my final thoughts on it is, I sort of agree with the fans, right? It's like it's beautiful to look at, but narratively it feels empty. I mean, if you're a diehard fan who just wants to see more Hawkins, yeah, I mean, maybe you can get something out of the Lost Chapters. But if you're looking for anything meaningful, maybe a more meaningful expansion of the Stranger Things kind of universe, I don't think you're probably going to find it here. But anyways, guys, what do you think? Is the total recast of the original actors of Stranger Things a deal breaker for you, or do you think the animation is strong enough to carry it? Let me know. I want to get your opinion on Stranger Things Tales from '85. Until then, I'm T-Rex, and I'm out.